Hey guys, welcome to the first part of the first video I'm making officially. This is going to be part of a daily video series I'm going to try to do where I talk about a piece of media or something that I like or I'm extremely passionate about every day. For this first episode, I'm going to be reviewing the manga by Tsubasa Yamaguchi called Blue Period. I have here with me the first volume of the manga, as you can see. So yeah, I'm just gonna get right into it. So the first thing I want to talk about was how I learned about this manga. I initially probably saw the anime on Netflix and just decided to give it a watch. I really enjoyed the anime, and I decided to take a look at the manga because there were a few things about the anime that I felt like were lacking in certain aspects or that could be improved upon, and then I found that once I had actually delved into the manga itself, I realized that a lot of those things that were lacking were stylistic choices that I think were made by the animators and kind of got diluted when the manga itself was translated into an anime. So yeah, by reading the manga, I actually just fell in love with this story so much more. I do think that, watching an anime first and then reading the manga is always a different experience. You have certain expectations of what the characters sound and act like, and those are in it of itself interpretations by the people that direct the animes or the voice actors or whatever else. But yeah, for me the manga is better than the anime. Just to highlight one moment in particular that I felt like could be really highlighted by why I think that there is a difference, even though you could argue that it is not a bad adaptation at all. And I want to, add that I did thoroughly enjoy the animation itself. But there's a scene I remember when Yatora is waving to the other main character, Yosuke, and Yatora doesn't wave back when he's standing on the train. And I remember seeing that and I even replayed that scene because I was like, maybe I saw it wrong, but why didn't he wave back? I just thought it was so strange because Yatora is not a character like Yosuke that is unwilling to be social or unwilling to follow social norms. I think actually on the opposite, idea, he wants to fit in, he wants to do everything that's considered right. And so I thought it was so strange and out of character for him to even do something like not waving back at someone. And then I saw in the manga she actually had drawn it, and then the animators, I guess, either decided to take it out or just happened to by accident or by chance to just leave it out. And I am not the author of the manga, and I have only read it as a few times, so I'm not able to notice the specificity of each time that I can see a difference, but I can feel it even in just the tone of the panels and the seriousness and the weight that certain moments have. For example, I think the art style is obviously a little different, and I think using manga itself as an art form is something that Yamaguchi sensei is able to do, and that is kind of taken away through the experience of watching the anime. So I would highly recommend to read the manga if you watch the anime. If you haven't watched the anime, then watching it is also a good experience if you're not an avid manga reader. So the next thing I wanted to talk about was what I actually found enjoyable about this manga and what made me I consider this to be one of, if not, it's not my favorite, but it's definitely really high up there with my favorite mangas and why I consider it to be my favorite manga, or one of my favorite mangas. So to start, to give you, I haven't even talked about what this story is actually about, but just to give you a little synopsis, this story is about a high school student who is passionless and is kind of doing everything in his life to just satisfy others, and he leaves himself feeling unnoticed or lonely, I think, and he doesn't really have a passion for anything. He just kind of is going through life with this sort of emptiness and I think a sort of detachment from his own choices because he doesn't really view them as his own choices. And then he discovers art, and that's through he discovers it in school. And he has friends and mentors that he gains from the study of art. he joins an art school, and he eventually is, you know, really going towards this goal of getting into a specific art school called Tokyo University of the Arts, which is known for being extremely hard to get into. And it is deeply about art. You know, there are a lot of technical aspects. The manga continues to go on to describe these technical aspects throughout the entire story up to this point. That part never leaves. So I can't say that it's not a story about art, but to me, when I read this, as a person who is not a professional artist, someone who's just creative, someone who's just what I think is a thoughtful person, someone that feels this drive to create, I think it really shows the specific internal. It's a very internal facing manga. I think you can. Yamaguchi Sensei was really able to portray outwardly a lot of the almost developmental and like coming of age sort of issues and problems that people deal with trying to find identity and trying to find meaning. And I call it coming of age and developmental, but I'm actually not sure if it can be described as those things or if it's just something that's part of human nature by just struggling to create and struggling to be satisfied with oneself and struggling with relationships and not even struggling but just confusion in these areas. And I think that art in this story is a medium to portray all of those things. And her storytelling and her use of art, all of these things come together to make a beautiful story. And I think her characters, the thing that probably drew me most to this story is how the characters are not simply characters that feel shallow, like they serve a singular purpose to this story arc or to the main character, but that they feel like really fleshed out real people that could exist in the world that you might have met, that you may see yourself in. And I think that's what makes the story truly incredible, is that it is deeply human and it feels deeply meaningful and true. And I believe Yamaguchi Sensei has even talked about how she draws inspiration from people she meets in real life, as she was a graduate of Tokyo University of the Arts herself. So I think that her personal experience really shines through in the making of the story, and I'm not sure without that experience herself she would have been able to write something as deep and compelling as this. So the next part I'm going to talk about is what my favorite arc was. This is the first volume, so you won't be able to see what the arc is here because this story or this arc comes much later in the manga, and also spoilers for anyone that is thinking of reading it. The part that I found the most compelling thus far was what people call the no marks arc, or that's what I've seen it called on Reddit, so that's what I'm going to call it. But it's basically Yatora has entered college. He gets into this Tokyo University of the Arts, and he can't make art, and he's struggling with his self-worth, I guess, and he's struggling with his ability to make art and talent and passion and all of these different things, and he's just completely at a stage of not making anything that he is happy with. And then he is also struggling with art itself and then what it means to be an artist, and he makes this installation of this around this theme of guilt, because the assignment is around guilt, and he makes this art piece prompted by this kind of art collective leader that's very charismatic, and she kind of eggs him on to make this installation where for some reason guilt is guilt is almost equated to expectation, I think, or that's my interpretation of it in this installation of his in his second year that kind of brings him out of this slump. And it not only brings him out of his slump, but it takes him to a higher level where he doesn't view art any longer as a technical skill in and of itself, and he kind of comes to understand better all of these things he thought were kind of brushed off as like silly or just like very artsy, or like he really comes to be more open and tries to understand these things, and he does that through actually becoming closer with this art collective leader that's very charismatic. But just seeing that development, and honestly the piece itself is what makes it so special to me, and I think thus far it's a key turning point in the story where after getting into college he's able to just turn that around. completely after that point, or at least become back onto what he views as moving forward and not stuck somewhere. So yeah, that would be my favorite arc. The last thing I'm going to talk about is my personal rating of the story. As I mentioned before, this is one of my favorite stories, my favorite manga. So I would give it a 9 out of 10, just because 10 out of 10 I'm probably going to leave for my favorite manga of all time, which I'll talk about in a later video. But yeah, this has been me talking about Blue Period. If you want me to go over any specific story or have anything in mind, just let me know in the comments below and I'll try to get to it. But anyway, see ya.